All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, everyone. This is M. Cooper. I have Sharon Niecase and Bree Rhodes with me today for us to review the summer resources that have been released for Accelerate. I mentioned earlier, but for those of you who are just popping on, this presentation is located in the Accelerate library. So if you go to the Louisiana Believes website and search Accelerate, it'll be the first website that comes up. And then under that first box under guidance, it has all of the summer resource links there. So today we're going to do a quick overview of Accelerate, and then we're going to dive into what the ELA guidance looks like this summer, and then the math guidance, and then the different support options we have for Accelerate. So as you all know, after this school year, we had school systems really needing additional support in addressing unfinished learning to students. And that definitely existed before COVID, but the need for really robust guidance and implementation support was definitely an ask from our school systems. And so we released Accelerate in February, and Accelerate is an equal access tutoring program that addresses and prevents unfinished learning. We're going to talk through the three pillars that this was formed on, and also what acceleration is and is not. So an acceleration approach addresses unfinished learning in an equitable way. So when we talk about acceleration, we're talking about a type of intervention that's proactive. It's tutoring through additional time in the school day, and it builds skills on what students need to access upcoming lessons. It's also based on their specific needs in unfinished learning based on the data that teachers collect. So I also want to be clear about what acceleration is not. So we're not talking about remediation. That is deficit-based. We're not talking about teaching skills in isolation. We're also not talking about teaching students something that's not connected to their current learning. So we think of this as things teachers did a long time ago when they would want to play catch up at the beginning of the school year by taking a few weeks to teach a bunch of previous grade level material. And we know that that is ineffective and detrimental to student learning. Another thing that acceleration is not is it is not intensive interventions. Teachers could use the Accelerate materials for one type of intervention, but it is not the entirety of what may be needed to address an individual student's learning plan. So addressing unfinished learning through acceleration mitigates barriers to learning and celebrates the value that all learners bring to the table. So instead of focusing on deficits, which perpetuates inequities and leads to lowering expectations for students, we have to think as teachers that student supports are opportunities that we build upon. And so Accelerate follows a just-in-time tutoring model. So after teachers have identified areas of unfinished learning in students, they're tutoring students on those prerequisite skills during additional time that increases their readiness for an upcoming lesson, maybe that week or the following week. So for example, if a student takes a beginning of module diagnostic and that data shows that unfinished learning exists with a skill for that unit around adding and subtracting within 100, then that teacher is going to provide additional instructional time for that student on that skill right before the lesson that they need to access that knowledge. So it's just in time and it's connected to the new learning that student will have. So the guidance that's been released is the ideal state of implementation that's based on research and evidence-based practices. So the guide outlines how the strategy is intended to be implemented. Schools and systems can choose to use pieces and parts of the strategy, but it definitely won't produce the highest results unless it's implemented as intended. The best practices for tutoring and addressing unfinished learning fall into three pillars: intentional structures, high quality materials, and effective instruction. And these three pillars are a cohesive unit So doing one or part of one without the whole will not give you the highest return on investment. The three of these should be implemented together. The acceleration cycle that's used in this strategy is 4 steps continuously used in planning for how to address unfinished learning. So your teachers are diagnosing, then they're planning, delivering, and then monitoring that learning. When teachers diagnose unfinished learning, they're administering whatever high quality curriculum embedded diagnostic they have, and it provides data to that teacher to identify what those prerequisite skills are needed before that unit. And so they'll take that data and they'll plan for the timing, so when they are going to administer the tutoring, and then the content, so what they are going to be administering for the tutoring for acceleration. And we have Accelerate ELA and Accelerate Math tutoring resources for those teachers to use. So then they're going to deliver the just-in-time curriculum aligned acceleration support, and then they'll monitor progress to adjust those supports based on student work. All right, so that's just a quick overview of Accelerate. I'm going to let Sharon talk through the ELA resources that have been released for the summer. So I'll turn it over to Sharon.
Thanks, Em. You can advance the slide, be great. Perfect. Hi, everyone. Happy to talk through ELA resources. Just like during the school year, the quality and choice of ELA materials matters. Schools and systems are already using high quality ELA curriculum for core instruction throughout the year. And the same high quality curriculum should be utilized for interventions and supports, as well as tutoring. So for summer reading, summer learning Accelerate ELA, we've created materials and we've aligned those to 2 popular open source curricula, core knowledge and guidebooks. If you can advance. Perfect. So here's an overview of the summer learning Accelerate materials we've released for ELA. For grades K through 2, we've released 20 foundational skills lessons. Those are based on core knowledge, language arts. And so we also released 20 knowledge and close reading lessons as well for students entering 1st through 3rd grade. And they're going to be studying a scaled down version of ELA guidebooks K2 units. Those units are Chrysanthemum, Frogs, and Cinderella. For students entering grades 4 through 11, teachers going to use a scaled down version of the untaught 5th ELA guidebooks unit to prepare students to engage in grade level content for the next school year. Those of you implementing guidebooks know districts usually teach 3 to 4 units a year, depending on their schedule. So we just asked a unit that you don't teach during the year. We've given some guidance on how to scale that down for that 20 day block when guidebook units, as you know, take longer than that. If you can advance the slide down. Perfect. So let's zoom in and look a little bit closer at K2. Here's an overview of the materials by grade level. When using our Summer Learning Accelerate ELA materials in Rising Kindergarten, 1st or 2nd grade, you should plan for a 30-minute block that's going to be for your foundational skills or your phonics and fluency, right? In addition, in Rising 1st and 2nd grade, you should also plan for 30-minute block for close reading and knowledge building. You can see the details of how this plays out on this slide for both foundational skills and knowledge building, especially across Rising 1st and 2nd grade. Can you advance the slide in? Perfect. So let's zoom into that K2 foundational skills block. You'll see the structure for these lessons on your screen, and you'll see how it's divided up over those 20 minutes. Additionally, you'll notice that we have released guidance on how to convert these lessons to virtual instruction where that might be applicable for your students that might be learning from a virtual setting over the summer. Now let's move in on that knowledge building piece for K2. So in Rising 1st grade, 2nd grade, and 3rd grade students, you'll see the structure of the lessons that we've provided for that knowledge building block. And you can see it's based on multiple read alouds and close reads. Take a minute, look through that screen. It's a little bit more detailed than the phonics. And you'll see they're doing all of those close reading activities around text, including vocabulary and multiple reads that we want them engaged in that's going to prepare them for their next year. Also, you'll notice there's guidance for how to convert those to virtual instruction as well. All right, I'm fine. You're ahead of me. All right, so let's leave K2 for a minute and start focusing on grades 3 through 11, or rising 4 through 11. So just like I said in the overview, we're really going to ask folks to choose that guidebook unit that you didn't teach during the year and go over it with students in a scaled down manner. And we've just outlined this kind of the same other than third grade. It's got the Cinderella unit, then rising 4 through 11 is an additional unit. Now let's see what that looks like as far as the guidance on the next slide. So in rising 4th through 11th grade, the guidance is really going to help your teachers walk through how to scale down that 5th grade unit. The process begins with reading the culminating writing task and then choosing priority texts that are necessary to answer that task. So obviously, if you're familiar with guidebooks, they're going to zero in on that anchor text as first priority, but also should determine which related texts are needed to build the knowledge to answer that culminating writing task. Those will be the next priority. Then guidance is given for teachers how to instruct students around those texts for 17 days with those priority texts for the culminating writing task. And students are going to be gathering their knowledge and gathering the things that they learned from the text that are needed in graphic organizers over their 17 reading lessons. The final 3 lessons are going to be focused on planning, modeling, shared writing, and independent writing of that culminating writing task. So I know we've got lots of guidebook lessons and they take more than 20 lessons, but our guidance is really going to show teachers how to go into those materials, pull out what's most necessary, so it feels like a cohesive unit, even though it's closely aligned to the culminating writing task. So this has been our overview of ELA materials. Reach out to ELA guidebooks at la.gov if you've got any additional questions. Thanks, Em.
Thank you, Sharon. And hey, everyone, this is Bree Rhodes, and I'm going to walk you through an overview of our Accelerate Math resources for the summer. So first off, just like during the school year, the quality and choice of materials for summer matters. So schools and systems should utilize a high quality math curriculum for core instruction throughout the year. The same high quality curriculum should be utilized for interventions and supports, including tutoring and summer. The research base identifying what works in math it's pretty substantial, probably more so than any other subject. And the Institute for Educational Sciences has practice guides that contain a total of 28 recommendations. All of these recommendations are backed by a very robust body of high quality research. And some of them are as follows. For example, studies show that students become more efficient and flexible in selecting appropriate ways to solve problems when they've been regularly exposed to questions that require different strategies to answer. So for example, in Eureka Math and in Zern, classroom discussions are facilitated about the strategies selected with questions like, which strategy do you prefer and why? Or which strategy is the most efficient? Research also underscores the importance of teaching students how to use visual representations. Students who learn to visually represent the math information and problems prior to writing an equation are more effective at problem solving. High quality curricula build this progression into the development of all of the concepts. And then finally, how fractions are treated is actually very important as well. So beginning in the earlier grades, the treatment of fractions is another hallmark of high quality programs. So IES reviews the research and concludes that a high percentage of US students lack conceptual understanding of fractions, even after studying fractions for several years. I know I'm not saying anything new. We who are math educators know that fractions can be a challenge. So the research supports using a curriculum that places a high premium on building a conceptual understanding of fractions and the ability to use them to think mathematically, which Tier 1 materials will do for you. The most widely implemented curriculum vendors have provided tools and guidance for educators to implement individualized, responsive instruction for students during the summer. So pictured here, you'll see 2 of our most widely implemented high quality curricula for math. Eureka Math has the Equip digital diagnostic tool that determines students' last point of success, and it provides content for each student's individual needs. If you're utilizing Eureka Math and Equip and you have the solution, be sure you reach out to your rep to discuss rostering your summer learners. We have worked with the vendor on this, and you would be able to actually roster those students and not have to wait until the fall, so that you could use this program and your teachers could use this program with your summer learning students. Additionally, Zern Math's Summer Intensive Series provides 12 weeks of targeted math instruction aimed at building understanding in the critical content of each grade. So resources are provided for educators to use as students move through the digital lessons. Pictured here on this slide is a snapshot of the grade by grade guidance that we've released for summer. So this example right here is Rising Grade 3. So that would mean students that are preparing to enter 3rd grade who have just left 2nd grade. For each rising grade level, priority content is identified according to the Louisiana Important Prerequisite Math Standards Guidance. That's a resource that we put out earlier this year. In the example shown, the most critical content from grade 2 is identified. So rising 21-22 3rd grade students should build understanding this summer in the identified 2nd grade content to build that readiness for grade 3 this fall. What you'll see here is an example of the sample 4-week calendars that were provided. We know that your summer learning programs might be set up in a lot of different ways, a lot of different structures. So this is just intended to give you an idea as a starting point to aid in your planning. So these sample 4-week calendars are provided in the grade by grade level guidance. And we show an example of how you might plan supports if you have 90 minutes or 60 minutes set aside for math instruction during that time for a summer learning program. These scenarios, of course, are examples. They shouldn't be implemented without thoughtful consideration of the context of your system and the unique needs of your learners. The sequences are samples that should guide individualized decisions based on your structures, your needs, and of course, the individual learning needs of the students who are in your summer learning programs. Ongoing formative assessment is a great way to do that and determine those individual student needs. So that should be used to gauge areas for targeted support, inform planning for those individual students in your programs. Systems should review all available information and that student data to make the most informed summer scope and sequence plans. And we hope that these math resources can be a starting point for you. Additionally, while I have you all on this webinar today, I just wanted to mention something that I think folks on this call may be interested in sharing with your math leaders. We're launching a community of practice that'll take part this summer and then this fall. And it's specifically designed to support math leaders. So this would be something great for like your instructional coaches, your math content leaders, those type of folks. On using best practices, and it's going to be focused specifically on using acceleration best practices to support addressing unfinished math learning. So there will be trainings, there will be collaboration style professional learning community opportunities for these leaders to connect with each other. So we are dropping the link to that application to be a part of that cohort in the chat. So if you're interested, please feel free to share or share with folks who may be interested in your schools and your systems. Thank you for letting me talk to you today about math. I am going to hand it back over to Em.
All right, so I just wanted to review a couple things. One, on the Accelerate website, which is linked here, we have both the ELA guidance that Sharon mentioned, the math summer guidance that Bree mentioned, and then this presentation is also posted. That website also includes any other webinar we've done or any other guidance documents that we've released around Accelerate. We will also post this recording in the next few days on this website as well, in case you have colleagues that weren't able to attend. If you have any questions about Accelerate, feel free to email me and we'll definitely direct you to the right person if I can't help. Really appreciate you all for joining. Let's see. We have a couple things in the chat. Yes, Jamie will provide access permission to the link that she sent so that you all can apply on that link. And that link is for math community of practice applications that are open. So you can apply there.
It will also be posted on that.
And it's also posted on the math planning page. All right, I don't see any other questions. So thank you all so much for joining and have a great summer. We're excited to see you all use these resources this summer and next school year. So we appreciate your time. Have a great day.